Welcome back, everybody, to the Teen Titans retrospective, going through every episode of the original Teen Titans animated series. This week, you might think is just a silly, disposable episode, but you'd be wrong. This is a crucial, lore-heavy episode that you must watch for full context of the complete series. Roll it. This is Season 3, Episode 10, Can I Keep Him? Written by Simon Rasiopa and Richard Elliott. Directed by Christopher Berkeley and Michael Chang. In this episode, Starfire gets a pet. Believe it or not, they've actually been building up to this episode over the course of the season. The episode opens with a fight with Johnny Rancid, that guy with the motorcycle. He's mostly just here for the Titans to have someone to fight, but he does sort of parallel the main plot by having this robot dog pet that the Titans fight, and we sort of end up seeing multiple different pet owners throughout this episode. So the Titans beat this robot dog, but Johnny Rancid gets away. When they get back to the tower, they notice that their whole main living area seems to be completely trashed. Don't let the Japanese theme fool you. This episode is not silly and disposable. It is crucial, lore-heavy, important to the main overarching plot of the series as a whole. You must watch this episode if you are to be a true Titans fan. The Titans split up and look for clues. They're trying to figure out if there's someone at the tower, and Beast Boy pulls Starfire aside because he knows what's actually going on here. He explains that way back in the episode Date with Destiny, where Robin had to go to the prom with the daughter of Killer Moth, Beast Boy ended up actually keeping one of these moth creatures after they reverted back to their larva state, which they actually do set up at the very end of that episode.
You know, now that nobody's making them all mutaty, these little guys might actually make good pets. Don't even think about it.
This is our proper full introduction to Silkie, who becomes Starfire's and the Titans' pet for the rest of the series. And like I said, we've been building up to Silkie throughout the course of this season. I'm not kidding. Silkie has had multiple cameos in the background of several episodes, hinting that he's already hanging around at the Titans Tower, and now finally we get his full reveal. Beast Boy's like, you gotta help me hide Silkie from the rest of the Titans because they'll take him away, and I like him. He's cute. And Starfire is slightly hesitant at first, but then almost immediately falls in love with Silkie, and we get a whole montage of her imagining all the great times they could have together. So Starfire is trying to figure out how to take care of Silkie and trying to feed him various foods because he's been the one destroying the tower and eating everything in sight. Starfire eventually manages to find these berries from her homeworld that Silkie has a fondness for. But whatever weird mutant DNA Silkie has starts to mutate when given these alien berries, and he just keeps growing to enormous sizes. Starfire realizes she's not going to be able to keep Silkie a secret for much longer, so she takes him out of the tower. And then we get that like scene in many different, pet movies where they have a sad ending and the dog gets rabies, or John Lithgow has to make the Bigfoot go back into the woods or whatever.
Get out of here! I'm pretending to hate you so you'll leave. I never liked you in the first place, you dumb loser.
And she's like, no, I don't love you anymore. And she tries to push Silkie away out into the wild. It's that scene. Meanwhile, Johnny Rancid shows up again. This time he's got a big robotic dinosaur and he's causing troubles. The Titans assemble, but then Silkie shows up back in his full giant moth form, being controlled by Killer Moth. Silkie in Killer Moth form eats the robotic dinosaur in an obvious nod to classic kaiju movies such as Mechagodzilla and Mothra. Sadly, Killer Moth is not voiced by Thomas Hayden Church like he was originally in his first appearance. Instead, in this episode, he's voiced by Mark Warden, who does a decent enough job. He does a pretty good approximation of the character, and his performance is still good, but I do wish that we got Thomas Hayden Church back, because he is really funny in this role. I like him a lot.
Daddy's working, kitten.
So now the Titans are faced with Killer Moth and a giant moth creature, but Starfire is trying to appeal to Silkie's goodness that she believes that he has. And it becomes this sort of battle of wills and of persuasion checks, maybe, between Starfire and Killer Moth, each trying to convince Silkie that they are the true parental pet owner type figure that really is the one that cares for Silkie. And Silkie is very confused and conflicted. We get some fun lines from Killer Moth trying to approximate being a loving pet owner.
Here, larva M319. Come to Papa.
Despite being, you know, a bad guy who experimented on moth creatures in order to try to take over the world or whatever. And Silkie gets very conflicted and confused because on paper, Starfire is the obvious, more nurturing, loving person, but she also, you know, was mean to him that time. So Silkie gets, like, freaked out and then fucking explodes. He blows up and dies, I guess. Jeez. And we get this, like, disgusting giant moth rib cage that's covered in this gross purple goop that has been, like, mutated from the alien berries of Starfire's homeworld. But like a phoenix, Silkie is reborn from the ashes of his giant corpse somehow. That's apparently a thing he can do. And he's back to being cute little baby larva form. So all is well and good, and he starts eating up the mutated berry flesh of his giant former self. That's this episode. One other thing I want to mention quickly, when Beast Boy is recapping what happened in Date with Destiny, the previous episode with Killer Moth, he's like talking about what all the characters did during that episode, and he's like, and then Cyborg said booyah. While this is an account of Cyborg saying booyah, because it's coming from Beast Boy, I don't think we're going to count it as an official part of the total booyah count, but I am going to at least mention it here, so there you go. That's this episode. It's pretty silly and weird, and while technically there isn't really that much super important that happens in this episode, we do formally meet Silkie, who becomes a recurring member of the Titans team. At least, you know, a recurring pet of the Titans. Silkie sticks around so far that he even is in Teen Titans Go, which is a whole other thing that we'll maybe get into another time. However, I do like the way this episode, it like addresses and plays with the continuity of the show, calling directly back to specific events from Date with Destiny. There's some good world building in this one, and I do also really like that they've sown little Easter eggs throughout this course of this season, building up to Silkie's full reveal in this episode. It helps to sell the idea that Silkie's been around this whole time, without any of the Titans noticing. If you were paying close attention, you might have actually noticed, or, you know, they're watching the series more than once like I am. So if you want, like, full context for the world building of this series, I think it's worth a watch. But outside of that, while it has some fun moments, it's maybe not the strongest episode ever. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, make sure you subscribe and check out my other videos. We're going through every episode of the original Teen Titans week by week, episode by episode. So tune in next week for another episode. Bye-bye.